Good morning, everyone. So, yesterday we learned about some state management techniques, how to use state management and conditional rendering. These two concepts we learned actually. So, state management techniques of JavaScript we used like session storage. Another one is local storage. One more we discussed is cookies. How to implement these cookies? Today we will see the example. So what is difference between session and local storage? Session storage is temporary. Temporary means it is available until you open the browser, right? Once you close the browser, it is deleted. It is not accessible across tabs. It is accessible only within the tab. So local storage is permanent. Even you close the browser, it is available. It is accessible across the tabs. Can we access these storages across browsers? It's not possible across browser. Within the browser, across tabs, we can access. What is cookie? Cookie have both behaviors. It have temporary, another one permanent. Persistent is permanent. That means you can use for both situations, but for that you need a cookie library to install. We are using a cookie library, React Cookie. React Cookie is a cookie library of React. Through this library, we can handle cookies. Let's see example. And cookies, we need a cookies provider, and we need use cookies hook. So yesterday I explained the scenario. Today we will implement in example. So how do we manage the cookies? How we can handle the cookies? So what I am doing is on sign in click, on sign out click, I am removing the logic. Now this doesn't depends on local storage. Now we don't use any local storage. It depends on cookies. That means which screen to render, that completely depends on cookies. So I will select this one, and here okay. So this part we need to redesign. Okay. In this, based on cookie, we need to display the details. Let's see how to manage. How do we handle and work with that? What is the concept is, when you are working with the cookies, first to create cookies, we need a library. What is it? So constant cookies, set cookie, another one is remove cookie, is equal to use cookies is the hook. It is an array because you can have multiple queries. Multiple cookies can be created. And what is the cookie name? Some username is the cookie name. When user clicks sign in, we want to create a cookie. and in the cookie we want to store the username. So when user clicks sign in, what is the condition? We have to set cookie and a cookie name. Cookie name is what? Username. What is the cookie value? Value is coming from username. Username is coming from text box. Huh? From text box we are collecting the username. And if you designed a cookie like this cookie is now temporary cookie. Temporary cookie means it will be available until you open the browser. Once you close, the cookie will be deleted. It is deleted. If you want a permanent cookie, you want it to stay for 2-3 days, then here you can add option. In the options we have expires. Expires is expecting a date and time. You can use what? New date. And what is the date? Year 2025. Day. Suppose now it is what? 7. I will give 9 and 03. Actually year, month, day. Okay. That means from today I want it to stay for 2 days. After 2 days, it will be automatically deleted. It will be there for 2 days in our machine. You see now sign in click, we have a cookie created. How to remove the cookies? We have to use what? Remove cookie name. Cookie name is what? User name. So we are removing the cookie by using this. How to check whether cookie is present or not? Whether cookie is present or not, we have to first understand what cookie is going to return. If you understand what cookie is going to return, then we can verify. For example, cookies of cookie name. I will use console log. Console log cookies of cookie name. What is the cookie name? Username. Let's see what it is going to return. I will run this. So when we start, let's check the console because cookie is not created. Right click, inspect, and go to application category. In the application category, so in this application now you will find cookies. There is a cookies from our React application as of now empty. And the console, in the console cookie is returning undefined. Actually session and local storage were returning null. Yesterday I explained that every state will not return the same. Some will return undefined, some will return null. You have to check what they are returning. So it is returning undefined. So what is the logic now? So if it is returning undefined, that means if cookie is defined. So if cookie is not defined, if it is undefined, then what should happen? Sign in should come. If cookie is defined, then the username should come. So what is the condition? Condition depends on what is it? Cookies. Cookies of what is it? Username. Cookies dot username is not equal to undefined. Not equal to undefined, what does it means? Defined. Or if it is equal to undefined. If it is equal to undefined means person is not logged in. If person is not logged in, we want to display the login option. If person is logged in, then the person name should display here. How to get the person name? We have to get the person name by using what? Cookies of cookie name is what? Username. So that is fine. Now everything looks okay. This time we are using cookies. And yesterday I told you, make sure that you are using a cookie provider in the index. That is mandatory. If you don't use cookie provider, you cannot locate the cookies. You cannot find the cookies. So let's run this and see now. Now what we are doing, we are entering the username and we click on sign in. When I click on sign in, now it automatically comes. You don't need to even reload the page. You don't need to refresh. If it finds the cookie, automatically sign in. And you see in the cookies, the cookie is created username and the cookie value is David. And see, cookie expires on 9th. This cookie expires on 9th. Some size I will reduce here. This cookie expires on 9th. What does it means? It means that suppose you are closing this browser and you are opening the browser. You close the browser and open the browser. Open the browser like what? I open the browser again and I paste it. Means we closed the browser, but the cookie is still available here. It is still available. For how many days? 2 days. So for example, you see, I am deleting the cookie. You kept 2 days, but in between those 2 days, anybody may delete it. Then what to do? For example, application. I will right click on this cookie and delete cookie. When I delete the cookie, automatically it signs out. You see Google and all these people, you go to history and clear history. When you clear history, they will ask, do you want to clear the cookies also? When you say yes, then automatically you will be signed out of all your accounts. Because any website manages your sign in by using the concept of what? Cookies. So they give 2-3 days expiry. They give 15-20 days expiry, but it's not necessary that it will stay up to that. In between, if you delete, it will be gone. But even you shut down your computer, next day also it is still available because you given an expiry. If you don't give expiry, the cookie is considered as what kind of cookie? Temporary. So temporary cookie will be deleted automatically when browser is closed. When browser is closed. Not tab closed, because cookies are available from across tabs. You can access from another tab also. When browser is closed, then the cookie is deleted if it is not given with what? Expire. So you entered some name and you entered some sign in. When you entered sign in, automatically cookie created and it will sign in. So you see the cookie is created by that name. And expiry is defined. And you click on sign out, it will sign out. Or you manually delete the cookie, then automatically it will be signed out. It will be signed out. So if you entered and click on sign out also, it's fine. Why? Because on sign out, we are removing the cookie. We written logic here now. What is the logic? When sign out is clicked, remove the cookie. So what is the basic syntax of cookie? Cookie have three references. First one to access the cookie, second one to create cookie, third one to remove the cookie, right? So in this, yesterday I given all the syntax, how to manage. Here some important point is how to configure a persistent cookie. So persistent cookie is a permanent cookie defined with expiry date and time. Set cookie, so name, value, expires, so you can give expiry in this way. How to configure in-memory cookie. So if expires is not defined, then the cookie is in memory. The cookie is memory, in memory, means temporary. For that we need just cookie name and value. And value. So here our main intention is to understand how conditional rendering works. In this case, what we done, when user logged in, we are showing one screen. If not logged in, another screen. A component changes the UI according to the status like logged in or not. Right. So what a simple task I will give you, you try to do this. Example I will give first. In the example, what you have to do, already yesterday showed you installation process and all. What we have to do, first install React cookie, which I npm install React cookie, and second go to index.js. In index.js, I will copy the code. In index.js, I will copy this code for just your reference sake. That is the code. Next, we have another one. conditional demo dot what JSX. Conditional demo dot JSX. I will copy this. So anywhere working with cookie requires three options. So that is cookie, set cookie, another one remove. So what is the cookie name? You have to define the cookie name. Right? This is the complete example and we are verifying. Here conditional rendering is working. We are verifying if cookie is undefined. If cookie is undefined, then print login screen. If cookie is defined, then print the username. I will give one task, you try. What is the task is? Create a simple registration form with fields like username, age, mobile, city, like this. You create a registration form, collect the form data using Formic library. You use a Formic library to collect the form data, then save in local storage. Save in the local storage and read data from local storage and display in component UI. This is what you need to do. Understood? So what you have to do, you create a simple registration form with some 4 or 5 fields, collect the data from the form, store using Formic, you collect the data and store in local storage. Local storage, session storages we already learned. Store in local storage all the data. Again, bring the data and display. What you do, so here some condition points like, so here what are the points? On submit click, it must display status as saved. Okay. And add a view button. So on view click, it must display saved data. Understand? So you collect the data and submit it. And after that, you put a view button. On view button click, which data you saved, whatever the data you saved in local storage, the data should come and display. In the user interface, the data should display. So create one form, collect the data from form, store it in local storage. Again on view click, bring the data from local storage and use the data. Use the data, display the data. This you have to try. It's a very simple basic example. Actually, we will do this by using database later. Currently, we are using a local storage. In many interviews, they give these kind of tasks. They will not ask you to work with any database. They will say that use local storage and manage your data through local storage. Local storage or session storage or what? Cookies. So we learnt the complete concept of how conditional rendering works. I showed you different possibilities. User selects According to the selection, the display will change. We designed a grid and card. User can switch between that. Inside a component, UI can change depending on the situation. So conditional rendering means it is the ability of a component to render different content according to the situation and the state. Based on state and situation, it will be changing its output. It will be changing the functionality. I showed several examples on the concept. So we learned one more point is how to manage the state using session local storage. React have some more state techniques, which you will see in next level. We will see how to handle them. So this is the concept of conditional rendering. So you learnt about conditional rendering. You try to do this task. I hope everyone understood this task, what to do. You have to try that. Okay. Next, after understanding these all concepts, now I will give a summary. You learned about components in React. You learned about nested components. Nested components means a component inside another component. You learned about controlled components, how to design controlled and uncontrolled components. These nested components, so controlled components, uncontrolled components. Uncontrolled components. You learned about data binding, style binding, class binding, event binding, and conditional rendering. Rendering and state management. These basic things you have learned up to now. So in React, you learnt all these concepts. So how to design components, how to manage nested components, how to create controlled components. And remember, all these you learnt with a concept of function components. Function components. So how to handle data binding, style binding, class binding, event binding, conditional rendering, state management, this. Now, several more questions are asked. For that, we need to understand another concept. So we worked with forms and validation. Forms and validation. So how to handle the forms, how do we work with the validations? We learned about API. API we learned about only one side, reading data from the API and displaying. Second side also we will do, means sending the data and storing in the API databases we learned. We saw weather API, how to create our own weather app. We discussed that. We saw one example on that. Now, after understanding this, one more very important about function components is we need to learn about React hooks. We need to know about the concept of hooks. Already many of them we learned, but we need to clearly understand what is the concept of hook. Actually, you learned use state, you learned about use effect, you learned use cookies, use ref, right? Already we used so many hooks. Actual, what is the concept of a hook? How these hooks actual work? Let's see the point. Technically, what is a hook and how this works? Actually, hook is a service in React. Hook is a service in React. So what is hook? Actually, hook is a service in React. What is meant by a service? Service means a predefined business logic which you can customize and implement according to your requirements. You don't need to write everything. Already they have written. Just you have to use it and you have to modify according to your requirements. Actually, I will show a point. Generally, we are having means how technologies libraries are built. Java, .NET, PHP, Python, all these technologies, how they build libraries actually. We usually have, generally we have values and functions. We have values and functions. A set of values and functions are kept in a set of values and functions are kept in a factory. So in programming languages, factory means a set of values and functions. For example, you have a string factory. String factory contains all string functions like index of, last index of, substring, char at, char coded. Array factory have all array methods. Array methods like push, pop, all these. Date factory have all date methods. A factory is a collection of values and functions. A related type of values and functions are kept in a factory. Now these factories are injected into, the factories are kept into a service. Service is a collection of factories. Some set of factories are kept in a service. Now what you are doing is, you are building an app. You are building one application. In this application, I want some functions. Already there are functions. We cannot use these functions directly. In an app, I want those functions. We cannot use those functions directly. Then what we do? You cannot use the factories also direct. Why we cannot use factory directly? Because factory follow a mechanism called single call. They follow a mechanism called single call. If you are directly using a factory in an application, it uses single call mechanism. Single call means you want a function for one purpose. Then what you have to do? You create an object. Through that object, you call the function. You want the same function again. Again, you need an object to access the function. Suppose I want one function 10 times. I need 10 objects. Understood? That means I want to access a function 10 times. Then I need to create 10 objects. You create one object. Through that object, you can access a function. After you finished using the function, the object is destroyed. Again, you want the same function. Again, an object is created. This mechanism is called as what? Single call. This is not great. This is not good in application. That is the reason our developers will use services. What is advantage of service? Service use a singleton pattern. They use a singleton mechanism. Singleton means what? You want a function 10 times. You requested first time. First time it will create an object. Through the same object, it can access the function any number of times. That means object is created for first request and the same object will be used across request. This mechanism is called as what? Singleton. So in a project development, whenever you have to use a library, it is always recommended to use services. Through services, we build an application. Services are predefined. Already they written a logic. For example, I will tell you in real time examples. You designed a login form. And what is the threat with login form is robots can use the login form. That means on internet, robots will automatically log in into your website. To prevent robots, we use a CAPTCHA. Am I right? If anybody asked you, do you know how to write a program for CAPTCHA? Every login form in the world, every registration form in the world must have a CAPTCHA. Why you need CAPTCHA? Because to prevent robots. So CAPTCHA will verify whether the user is a human or a robot. If it is a robot, it will prevent. Otherwise, if robot starts using your website, login, register, they can log in. They can register into website. They create lot of load onto website. To prevent robots, what we need? CAPTCHA. If anybody asked you, do you know how to write code for CAPTCHA? That is a wrong question. Why wrong question? Because CAPTCHA is not a code to write. CAPTCHA is a service to implement. CAPTCHA is a service to implement. That means already CAPTCHA code is written. Already CAPTCHA code is written. You have to just implement it and you have to use it. CAPTCHA is an artificial intelligence program. You don't need to write it. Already it is written. It is provided by so many third parties. You have to inject into your application and you have to use it. And who provides such CAPTCHA? So many third parties are there. Google will provide, so Telerik will provide. There are so many different types of third parties who will provide the CAPTCHA. So if anybody asked what is CAPTCHA, what do you say? CAPTCHA is a service used by developers to prevent robots from login and register. Understood? So if anyone asks like, do you know how to write CAPTCHA? CAPTCHA is not a code to write. CAPTCHA is a service to implement. Like that in real-time projects, you have lot of services. In real-time projects, you have to use lot of services. For example, if anybody asked you, like, can you write a code for generating QR code? Somebody booked a ticket in our website and we need to generate a QR code for the ticket. Can you write a code for QR code? You don't know anything about it. But it is mandatory these days in every business. It is mandatory for Java, .NET, everybody. But you don't need to write. It is a service. For example, you developed a website. In that website, user can log in, then only he can view my content. And to log in, first user have to register. Na? User have to register. After register, he can log in. After login, he can view my content. But user is not interested to register. Then how? User is not interested to register in my website. And I don't want to provide without login. Then how? We can ask the user that, okay, you don't register, you use your Gmail to login. Am I right? Have you seen such thing? What it is called as? Using a Gmail account to log in into other websites without registering in their website. What is that mechanism known as? What is that service called as? What is that service called as? That means you are using an Google account to log in into different website. If interviewer asks you, what is this service called as? This service is called as, it is called as OpenID. That service is called as OpenID. That is open authentication. OpenID is nothing but you can use your email account to log in into different website without registering. If you developed a website, in that website, if anybody asked you like, I want this, that means user no need to register. He can log in with his Google account and he can access. Then we have to implement which service? OpenID. OpenID is an open authentication which allows our website to verify the user's Gmail and allow him to log in. So these are all services. For example, you see now, suppose I want to use CAPTCHA. To use CAPTCHA, there is Google reCAPTCHA. And you see, this is Google reCAPTCHA. When I go to Google reCAPTCHA, it shows that reCAPTCHA is a free service. It is a free service that protects your site from spam and abuse. That means actually it uses advanced risk analysis techniques to tell humans and bots apart. What is the full form of CAPTCHA? Completely automated public tuning test to tell computers and humans apart. That is the full form of CAPTCHA. That means it is an artificial intelligence program which is used to tell whether the user is a user, a human or a robot. If it is robot, it will block. How it knows? According to the keystrokes, according to mouse movements, it can understand is it a robot or a human. So technically, if I want this CAPTCHA, I don't need to write any program. Already these people provide. I just inject and I have to use. So hooks are, you are saying use state. Am I right? What is use state? To maintain a local state so that we can store value and you can use the value. You are not using local storage. You are not using session storage. You are not using cookies, but use state is able to maintain data for you. How it is doing that? That means internally some logic is written. Internally some logic is written. How use effect is working on load of component? That means there is some logic written already, right? So that means they are predefined business logic. What is a service? Service is a predefined business logic. Service is a predefined business logic which you can customize and implement according to the requirements. Service is a predefined business logic which you can customize and implement according to requirements. It is a predefined business logic. Actually, how the service works. Technical thing I already told you. What is the hierarchy? We have values and functions. These are configured into what? Factories. Factories are injected into services. These services are used to build an application. Right? Factory uses a single call mechanism. Factory uses a single call mechanism where an object is created for every request. Service uses a singleton mechanism. Singleton mechanism where an object is created for first request and the same is used across multiple requests and the same is used across multiple requests. So how service works actually? Service have so many components. A service comprises of consumer, provider, injector. Service comprises of three basic things: consumer, provider, and injector. Service provider means the component which provides that service. Service consumer means the component which uses the service. Consumer is the person who is using it. Provider is the person who is providing it. A service comprises of a consumer, provider, and injector. Injector will take the service from provider and injects to the consumer. So consumer, provider, and injector. Service works with these three basic things. Now, here, what is the role of consumer? Consumer uses the service. Provider locates the service from memory. Locates the service in memory. Locates the service in memory. Injector injects the service into consumer. Injects the service into consumer location. That is, service have three major parts: the consumer, the provider, and the injector. We call service consumer, we call service provider, and we call service injector. Now, actually, if you have observed one concept, if anyone asks you, so use state, what is its purpose? If anyone see this clearly, if you observe this clearly, do you know it is not responsible for creating state, it is for using state. It is for using state. That means it is a consumer. You are using the state. You are not creating state. Every hook name will be used. That means if anyone interviewer asked you like, are you creating state? No, this is using state. Then who created? Component created. Later I will show you component cycle. In the component cycle, you will understand where state is created. Are you creating the state? If anyone asked you in interview that use state is creating state, then it's no. It's not creating state, it is using state. Right? That means it is not creating, it is using. Then who created the state? In the next level, you will see that. So if anybody asked you like how to create state, never say that use state. Right? Use state is not for creating state, it is for using the state. For creating states, other techniques we learned: local storage, session storage, cookies. These are used for creating the state. Technically, use state is for using the state. So it is a consumer function. It is a consumer function. So you will see how they work. So every hook is used as a service. Every hook is used as a service. Now, how to create these hooks? In React, there are two facilities. There are already hooks built in. You can use them, or you can create your own hooks. We can design our own hooks and we can implement them. That means for a particular purpose, lot of logic is required every time. Then you don't need to write. You can make it like a hook and you can use from anywhere you want. What is the advantage of this service? Reusability, extensibility, separation, maintainability, testability. All these are implemented. Actually, service uses a mechanism called DI. DI is dependency injection. It uses a mechanism called dependency injection. So it locates the dependencies, injects the dependencies so that you can start using those dependencies. So here we need to understand how do we create the service, means how to create the hooks. So here 2 points are there. So service uses DI mechanism. So which is a dependency injection mechanism. Which is dependency injection. So it identifies the dependencies, locates them in memory and injects into component. It identifies the dependencies, locates them in memory and injects into component. That is the process, that is the purpose actually how it, where and how it is used. So React allows to create custom hooks. React allows to create custom hooks, which are custom services. Allows to create custom hooks, which are custom services. We can create our own hooks. But to create our own hooks, you need to know the rules. How do you create the hooks? There are the rules. We can create our own hooks. Let's see how to create our own hooks. What are the basic rules actually? So here, so hook rules. What are the basic hook rules? First important rule is hook must be a function. Hook must be a function. That is the first basic rule. Hook must be a function. That means it is a JavaScript function. And its name must start with use prefix. Its name must start with use prefix. You have to start the hook name with the use as prefix. Another important, its name must be in camel case. Camel case. Camel case means starts with lower case. In between, it will have an uppercase, again ends with lower. That is camel case. That means like use state, like use effect, like this. That is camel case. Another important point here is hook. It cannot be void type function. It cannot be void type function. Hook cannot be void. What does it mean? Always it must return something. You cannot have hook as void. So always it must return something. That means it must be configured. It must be configured with return. It can return anything. It can return a primitive type, non-primitive type function, anything. So it cannot be void. That means it must return something. It should return something. And important is it can be parameterized or parameterless. It can be parameterized or parameterless. With parameters, without parameters, it doesn't matter. You can have parameterized, parameterless. Another important is you cannot use hooks in class components. You cannot use hooks in class components. There is no chance. That means hooks are not suitable for classes. Already we discussed this. I told you while learning about formic, use formic like hooks are not allowed in a class. Class components we are going to learn in next sessions. After we finish function components, we will learn about class. But I told you class components is an old mechanism. We are not using. But projects in companies may be using classes, using because they are still working with old versions. Then they are using class. Hooks cannot be used in class components because hooks is a new concept introduced from React 17 and higher versions, and you cannot use in class. Another important, hook cannot be defined. Hook cannot be defined in a closure. Hook cannot be defined in a closure. You cannot define the hooks in a closure. You already know the closures, huh? In JavaScript, what is a closure? Closure is a mechanism of function where the members of outer block are accessible to inner, but the members of inner block are not accessible to outer. That is the mechanism of closure. That means a hook cannot be in any inner block. If it is in inner block, you can't access outside. Hook cannot be in a closure. That's very important. So cannot be defined in a closure. These are all basic rules you have to follow. Let's see how to create a simple hook our own hooks and how to use them. If you know how to create your hooks, you can use existing hooks, right? Let's see how to create a hook. So what I want is, in our project already, we have a register, some register form or login form. Some forms are already there. I think in the beginning we created a login. Yeah. So let's see what is this register having. We have a register component. Okay, this is a register form. By default, we have some register form. Already there is a register form we created earlier. Now in this register form, let's go to register. Yeah. In the register form, what I will do is, in the register form here, I want to display a data term, verify code. Verify code. Here data definition. What I want is, here I want a captcha like. It's not originally captcha. That means I want some random code. And every time that code is changing, it's not fixed. And I want that everywhere, not only in register, later in login, change password, verify password, everywhere I want captchas. Then to write a code for generating a random code every time is very lengthy process. Now what we will do is, we will go to our project. In SRC folder, I will create a new folder called hooks. We can create a new folder hooks. Anywhere you can keep, but make sure that it is in SRC. And in hooks, we will create a new file. What is it? Captcha.jsx. We are creating captcha.jsx. This is captcha.jsx. Now, what are the rules of a hook? We have to create export. What is it? Hook is a function. Its name must start with use, and it should be camel case, na? Use captcha. That is the camel case. Now, it is still not satisfied because according to the rules, it cannot be void, na? I will write a code, and what I will do is I will return the code. And code is actually a string type. Code is actually a string type. Now this is ready. Now this use captcha is returning a string. And what I want is, I want this code as a random number. And you know how to create random numbers, na? So I will use var some or simply one random number we can create. Code is equal to I am creating a random number like this. How? I will use math.round. Math.round. In that math.random into 10. That is one number. This is a simple JavaScript mathematical function to create a random number. Actually, why I am using round and all, you know that. For example, I will go to console. Here I will show you. Actually, math.random. It generates a random number like this. But random number is a fraction, 0.034 like that. That's the reason I multiplied with what? 10. Then it will give a positive number. But positive number, it is giving 3 point again fraction. Then what I am doing? Math dot what? Round. Which one? Math dot random into 10. Then it will get a number. And every time it is getting a different number. Every time it generates a different number. That logic I am implementing there. That's a simple JavaScript logic. I will copy this like this. This is for one number. Space, second number, third number, four number, five number, and six. That means a six digit random number we created. And we are storing in which location? Code. And we want to return that code. Okay, our own hook is ready. We want to use this hook. We want to use this hook in registration form. First, what we have to do? We have to import. Import. What is it? Use captcha. Use captcha. Captcha na? What is the hook name? In hooks, yeah, the hook name is use captcha. So use captcha. Okay. From the hooks library, we have to import. That's it. Now what we need to do is this use captcha is returning a function. That is returning a function with a string. So what we will do? We will create let some code is equal to, what is it? Use captcha. Use captcha is returning a code. And this code we will put here. Here we will put the code. I'm just using the code. Now you can see that a random number is created here. A random number is created here. And when I refresh here, another code will come. That means every time a new code is generated there. Every time a new code is generated. You can put a button saying that refresh. You can put a button refresh. How? Suppose I will put a button and button is class btn and bi. So suppose we have a clock history, something like this, then it will give a button like this. This is bi have another symbol, anything. bi have a refresh is there, not there. Then we will use what? Arrow. bi arrow. Yeah, arrow is there. Arrow clockwise is there. That is okay. Arrow clockwise, it will put this button. And when I click on this button, it should get the new code. You see, the button is going to get the new code because it is a submit button and it is refreshing the page. And automatically one new code is generated here. Without refreshing, you can write a function which will generate the new code and it will access the new code. So this is how we created our own hook. What is advantage of this? I want this functionality in login form, registration form, change password, account verification. Then every time I don't need to write such lengthy logic. I can just write a predefined, I can put in one hook, I can inject that hook and use anywhere. We can use this for any purpose, not only for this, just this purpose. Suppose we created our own hook by following all these rules. So syntactically, how to create a hook? We need an export function use name. And params is optional. It is not mandatory. Perms is optional. And it's mandatory that it should return some value. It returns some value. So this is the reason in so many occasions you will face a problem in React.js because you will go to companies. In the companies, you will see that they are using some hook. and you see the hook name and you will get a doubt like, I haven't learned this hook. My React faculty never told me about this hook, right? Because that is not a hook provided by React. They created their own hooks. How do we know about them? Am I right? If anybody asked you, do you know use CAPTCHA hook? Seriously, why I know your hook? You created your own hooks and you created your own names. How do you other people know about them? That means you ask about the hooks developed by React, I can tell. You ask about a hook your company designed, how do I know? Right? That means you will find so many such hooks in React, which you will never find in Google also. That means you search for those hooks in Google. Nobody gives an answer for that because there is no such hook. That is their own created. For their own purpose, for their own requirement, they created. Now here we can create such hooks so many, right? I will show another point here. This is example. First, what you do, add a new folder by name hooks. Add a new folder into SRC by name hooks. Add a new file. What is it? CAPTCHA.what? CAPTCHA.jsx. In CAPTCHA.jsx, I am copying this code. This is the code. We created our own logic and we are implementing in register. Register.jsx. In register.jsx, I am importing this. Actually, register already we created. I am just adding it. Register.jsx. Here we are importing our own hook and we are using our own hook. Let's create another. Remember, hooks can use built-in hooks again. A hook can use another hook. A hook can use anything inside. For example, let's see. What is another regular requirement is every day you learnt about Axios, na? Axios and fetch. Fetching data from API is very common. I need data from API regularly. Then I have to write lengthy logic every time. Axios dot get or fetch. I have to write. We can design one hook for that. Let's create a hook for fetching data from API. So how do we do that? Let's go to hooks and I will put a new file. So fetch API dot what? JSX. I will create a hook name, export function. What is it? So use fetch. Actually, there is no hook called use fetch. I am using just use fetch. Actually, you have a fetch method, but use fetch, there is no. And what this use fetch is doing is it is expecting URL. That means hook can be parameterized or parameterless. Now what we will do is it is expecting URL. From this URL, we need to get the data and store the data. So I am creating a constant data set data is equal to what? Use state, and I am expecting an array. You can design in any way you want. I am expecting an array of objects. Now after that, what we have to do, it should use effect. Am I right? Use effect means at the time of loading, what should happen? At the time of loading, what should happen is I need to fetch the data from this. And what you will use for fetching the data? Anything like what you can do, you can use what? Fetch, or you can use what? Axios. anything you can use. Suppose I'm using fetch. Fetch from where? From the URL, na? Fetch from that URL. After that, what? Then get the response and return the response as what? JSON. After that, what? Then get the data and we have get the we will say as items, and we will set data into the items we will store in the data. Am I right? That means we are fetching the data from that and we are displaying it. And very important is all the data is here now. And remember, whenever URL changes, it should get the new data again now. That means here you need the dependency URL. Understood? What does it means? Whenever URL changes, again bring the new data and display. Because use effect will execute only once. But whenever URL changes, then bring the data and show. And where the data is kept? Data is kept in which location? Data. According to the rules, you have to return what? Data. So what this use fetch is doing? Fetching data from this particular URL and it is returning the data. That means to get the data from any API, you don't need to write a lengthy logic every time. Now you have a ready-made hook. You can directly try this. Let's see how to use it now. So what is this logic? Whenever user calls use fetch, he will pass an URL. We will bring the data from that URL and we will load into which location? Data. And we will return the data. That means you see now, let's go to some examples. Suppose so many examples are, any example I will use. We have some NASA and other APIs are there. Okay, just now I kept register. Na? Okay, temporarily I will go to the register. Register is in the startup. Huh? Temporarily I will go to the register. Here I want to bring data from particular API. Roughly I am giving here. How to bring data from API? I am expecting what? So I am creating some LET categories. I want to get the data. Then what we have to do? We have a hook called, what is it? Use fetch. It is expecting the URL. URL is https://fakestoreapi.com/what? Products/what? Categories. It is going to return all the categories and it is going to store in these categories. I will try to display those categories below here temporarily. That means what I will do? I will just use an unordered list. I want to display all the categories. What we have to do? Categories dot map. Read every category and put a list item for every category and print the category here. Print the category here. And you need a key. Category is defined. That means now you see it fetches the data and show. Map is not a function. Why? The categories need to be an array type, na? Right? We need to configure this as an array type because I just declared normal. Huh? So what we will do then, because what is the data? It is expecting products slash this API. It is returning all this data. So it is not expecting the data. Response.json, some problem is there in fetching. What is it? JSON method like I haven't written. Huh? That is the problem in that. JSON is a method which converts. Okay, now fine. Now it will get the data and show. This time you don't need to use a lengthy logic here. Just what you have to do, use fetch. You have to just use fetch and put the URL. It will get the data and store. Earlier, we have to write a lengthy logic every time, but now you have a hook for it. You just inject the hook and access the data and use it. That means several operations we need regularly. Then for that, every time writing a lengthy logic is risky. So better create a hook and use it. You create a hook and you can access it. So what we are doing here, we are creating a hook called fetch. What this is doing, fetching the data from where? URL. By using your fetch method, it is returning the data and storing here. So if I don't do this, every time I have to write this now. Every time I need to write this, bring the data, store in location and use. Now it is everything ready. This is another custom hook. We can create our own hooks. This is another example of what is it. This is a custom hook, and what is its name? Fetch API dot what? JSX. This is fetch API dot JSX. And how to use it? In any location, you can use it by using this simple technique. I will just put this one. In any location, you can use like this. This is in component.jsx. Huh? In any component, if you want, you just use the hook called what? Use fetch. And pass the URL. Whatever data comes, it will be stored. You have to just use it. This is custom hooks, our own hooks. For different purpose, we can create our own hooks. Once you know your own hooks how to create, then we have to learn the built-in hooks now. That means we have to know about React built-in hooks. In React built-in hooks, already they given so many hooks, we can try using them. That we will see in next session. Right? Tomorrow we will do that. Tomorrow we will have a regular session. Right? In tomorrow's session, we will learn about the hooks of React. React hooks. React hooks, already we learned some, but we will learn detailedly about every hook now. What is its purpose, how it works, everything we will detailedly learn. Tomorrow we'll continue. Okay.